Hello students, we have already studied about mechanical properties of solids in chapter number 9. Now we are going to start chapter number 10, mechanical properties of fluids. Now about introduction. Students, we know that liquids and gases they can flow, and so they are called fluids. Students, we have a pipeline for a gas at our home in which gas flows. In a similar way, the water flows in a pipe, and so both liquids and gases they are known as fluids. In general, we can say that the things which can flow are known as fluids. Unlike solids, fluids has no definite shape of its own. Students, we know that solid have their shape, but fluids they do not have the shape. Solids and liquids have a fixed volume. Remember, solids and liquids they have fixed volume, whereas gases they fill the entire volume of the container. Means volume of the gas is not fixed. If you fill a gas in a 1 meter cube container, then it will be take the size of that much container. And if you fill the same gas in a small container, suppose say 1 centimeter cube, then that much gas which was filled in 1 meter cube container can be filled in a 1 centimeter cube container. But for that, high pressure and low temperature should be kept. In short, the gases they do not have a fixed volume. They take the volume of a container, or they occupy the volume of a container, while these solids and liquids they have a fixed volume. The volume of solid, liquid or gases depends on the stress or pressure acting on it. Now students, remember, when the pressure is applied to solids, their volume changes, and that we have studied in our previous chapter. When the pressure is applied to liquids, their volume changes negligibly, that is slightly. But when the pressure is applied to gases, their volume changes considerably, that is volume decreases in a large amount or in a large proportion. Solids and liquids have much lower compressibility as compared to gases. Gases are highly compressible, whereas liquids they are least compressible. Now about topic number 10.2, pressure. Students, even we have studied about pressure in our previous chapter. Here you can see, when the force is applied to this piston which is connected by a spring in a chamber, and here this chamber is having vacuum, that means no gas or air inside it, and let the cross section area of this piston is A. Then force applied per unit cross section is nothing but it is pressure. So we can say that the pressure is exerted on this piston, and so what will happen? This spring will compress. So I have written here a pressure measuring device which consists of an evacuated chamber with a spring that is calibrated to measure the force acting on the piston. So with the help of this type of instrument, we can measure the force acting on this piston. Now, if F is the magnitude of the normal force on the piston of area A, force we can easily measure. Even area also can be measured. And so, if F and A are known to us, then by taking the ratio of F and A, we can get the average pressure. Now students, if the area of the piston is made small, then the pressure is defined in a limiting sense as P. Earlier it was average pressure, but if we decrease this cross section area considerably, that is if it is made very small, then we get this limiting pressure, and that is given by P is equal to delta F upon delta A, where this delta A tends to 0. Students, here it is a printing mistake. It should be delta A. Delta A tends to 0 means this cross section area should be very small for the given piston. So in that case we get P is equal to dF by dA, limiting pressure or simply pressure. Now pressure is a scalar quantity. We know that force is a vector quantity, even area is a vector quantity, but here the result of these two gives pressure, which is a scalar quantity. So there must be a dot relation, dot product or a scalar product. Unit of pressure we have studied earlier also in our previous chapter. It is Newton per meter square or Pascal. Symbol is PA. Also, some common units are in use for pressure, which is atmosphere. We also call atmospheric pressure. 1 atmosphere is equal to 1.013 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. Atmosphere is not a SI system unit of pressure. Pascal is the SI unit system. So if the pressure is given in atmosphere, then we need to convert in Pascal during the calculations. And this much pressure, that is 1 atmosphere pressure, is considered above the sea level. Now about density of fluid. Students, we know that density is always mass per unit volume. And so for a fluid of mass m occupying the volume V, its density is given by rho is equal to m by V. Again, mass is a scalar quantity, volume is a scalar quantity, and so density is a scalar quantity. Unit of density kg per meter cube, because mass is measured in kg and volume is in cubic meter or meter cube. Dimension is given by m1 l raised to minus 3 t raised to 0. So students, if the formula is known to us, how to obtain the unit and dimension, that you already know. Now some important notes related to this. Liquids are highly incompressible and hence their density remains nearly constant at all the pressures. Gases, on the other hand, are highly compressible and hence their density varies largely with pressure. As we have discussed earlier, that gases can be compressed, and so when it is compressed its volume decreases, but the mass of that gas is not going to decrease, it will remain same. So what will happen if mass remains same, but with the application of pressure on a gas, if its volume decreases, then what will happen? V decreases, density will increase, and so with pressure density of the gas will increase. The density of water at 4 degrees Celsius is 1.0 into 10 raised to 3 kg per meter cube, or we can say it is 1000 kg per meter cube at 4 degree Celsius. Students, density of water is highest at 4 degrees Celsius. At other temperatures, its density will be little less. Now about relative density. Relative, whenever there is a word relative, that means there is a comparison. The relative density of a substance is the ratio of its density to the density of water at 4 degrees Celsius. Suppose if I say that density of some substance is 7, and if I want to find its relative density, then what should I do? Simply relative density means density upon density of water. Density of given substance upon density of water will give you relative density. So here we have to divide by 1000. This is the density of the substance, and to find the relative density we have to divide it by density of water, that is 1000. So we'll get the relative density. Example number 10.1. Here this example is given for a thigh bone known as femur. You can see here in figure, a force is applied to the cross section area of this thigh bone. Its cross section area is given, it is 10 centimeter square. The total mass of upper part of human body. Students, this example we have studied in chapter number 9, that due to mass on the upper part of this thigh bone, the force will act on this thigh bone, and that force is nothing but is weight, that is mg. So a human body upper part of human body is having suppose mass 4 kg. So that 4 kg mass will act a force on this thigh bone, because we know that thigh bone supports our upper part of the body. And so mass M is equal to mass on each thigh bone. We have two legs and so two thigh bones. And so if the total mass of the body, upper part of the body is 40 kg, so each thigh bone will under the mass of 20 kg, that is half of total mass. So force acting on each thigh bone will be mg, where m is 20 and g we are going to take 10. So we'll get force acting on each thigh bone equal to 200 Newton. And so now what will be the average pressure? We know that according to definition, pressure is force per unit area. Force is 200 Newton and cross section area of this thigh bone is given 10 centimeter square. So 10 into 10 raised to minus 4, because centimeter square is converted to meter square, because whenever we put the value, that should be in SI system. Now calculating this, we will get pressure equal to 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per meter square. So this calculation is not tough, it is quite simple. So you will get this answer. Now about Pascal's law. Students, the French scientist Blaise Pascal observed that the pressure in a fluid at rest is the same at all the points if they are at the same height. Means if we take a container filled with water or any fluid, then if we select the points which are at same depth or at same height, then the pressure at each and every point on this horizontal line will remain same. Condition is that the fluid should be stationary. So this was the Pascal's law. In other words, pressure in an incompressible fluid in equilibrium is the same everywhere if the effect of gravity is neglected. Remember students, effect of gravity should be neglected and the fluid should be incompressible and it should be in equilibrium, means stationary. So in such case the pressure will remain same everywhere. Now let us give the proof for the Pascal's law. Students, here a container is filled with some fluid and here this is an element of the same fluid of the shape of prism. We can take any shape of this element. We can take the shape spherical also. We can take cylindrical also. But here we have considered the shape of this fluid element of the shape of prism. Now students, Here you can see this face on which the force is acting due to rest of the fluid around it. So on this face ADEB, the force acting is FC. On this face ACFD, the force acting due to fluid around it is FB, and at the base, that is the face BEFC, the force acting is FA. Students, also the force will act on this face which is towards us, and even on the face which is backside, but that force which are acting, they will cancel each other, and so we are not going to consider that force acting on these two faces which is in the front side and the back side. Also, the cross section area of this face is AC. Force acting on this cross section is FC and its cross section area is AC. Similarly, cross section area of this face BEFC is AA, and this cross section area this for ACFD is AB. So it is clear that the forces on these faces are FC, FA and FB, and the cross section area are AC, AA and AB respectively. And we know that the area vector for this cross sections will be coming out, normally coming out. Now, as this fluid is in equilibrium, and so this element will also be in equilibrium, that means it is stationary. So in that case, what will happen? If we consider the vector relation of the forces acting on it, you can say, students, these forces, if we consider this force FB which is in this direction, then this angle here, it will be theta. Geometrically we can show that if this angle made here is theta, then this angle will be also theta. Geometrically we can show that. And so for this force FB, we get two components. One component is FB cos theta, which is this, and the other is FB sin theta. And so it is clear that as the fluid element is in the equilibrium condition, FC which is in this direction and FB sin theta which is in this direction, they should cancel each other. Also, you can see upward force which is FA and the downward force is FB cos theta. So they must be also balancing each other. As a result, this element remains stationary. Horizontal forces as well as vertical forces, they must cancel each other. And that's why I have shown the same thing here also. And so from this we can write that FC is equal to FB sin theta and FA is equal to FB cos theta. Similarly, considering the areas I have shown the figure here also, two-dimensional figure. You can see here this is area vectors. And so for this area vector, if we take two components, one towards positive x direction and one towards positive y direction, angle made here is theta. That we can show geometrically, that if this angle is theta, then this angle must be also theta. And so this component will be AB cos theta, sorry, sin theta, and towards this side it will be AB cos theta. Look at this figure. We can take these two components of this vector. And so it is clear that cross-sectional area and its area vector, that is AC, is in this direction, and the component of area vector of this FB sin theta is towards this direction, so they must cancel each other. Similarly, area vector for this face which is on the base, which is coming out like this, that is AA in downward direction, and the component of area vector in vertical direction for this face, which is AB, is in the upward direction, that is AB cos theta. So they must be cancelling out each other because the fluid is in equilibrium. So students, just go through these two figures and you will find that AC is equal to AB sin theta and AA is equal to AB cos theta. Now taking ratio of this equation 1 and 2, if we take the ratio of this upon this, then sin will cancel and we will get FB upon AB, which is here, and on right side we will get FC upon AC, which is here. Similarly, if we take ratio of these two equations, that is this upon this, then cos will cancel and we will get FB upon AB, which is this, and on right hand side we get FA upon AA, which is here. And so taking the ratio of these two equations 1 and 2, we will get this equation, and that shows that force per unit area for cross section at point B, which is PB, force per unit area of C, that is PC, and force per unit area for A, that is PA. So all that pressures are same only. That means pressure at each and every surfaces will be same according to Pascal's law. Whatever the shape of the face will be, if it is vertical, then also that pressure will be there. You can see this face is vertical. If the face is horizontal, then also the pressure will be same. And if the face is neither horizontal nor vertical, you can see this face is slant, then also pressure will be same. And so the Pascal's law is proved. Finally, I have written here, pressure exerted is same in all the direction in a fluid at rest. And so, students, if the effect of gravity is neglected, then pressure at each and every point in a fluid remains same at all the heights or at all the depths. Remember, the effect of gravity is neglected in that case. But now we know that we cannot neglect the effect of gravity. And as a result, what happens as we go at some depth? Then what will happen? The pressure increases. And so now next topic is related to that only. Variation of pressure with depth. Students, in Pascal's law, we have considered the shape of fluid element as a prism. But here we will consider the fluid element to be cylindrical. Here you can see a container is filled with a fluid, and we have selected a fluid element of the shape of cylinder. Now, on the curved surfaces of this fluid element, the force will act, and that forces which are acting on the curved surfaces, they will cancel each other because they are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So resultant force on the curved surface will be 0. But the force acting on this upper face and the lower face, that are very important, as well as the weight of this fluid element which is considered. Now students, if we consider this fluid element to be stationary only, that is in equilibrium condition, then in that case the total force acting in the downward direction should be equal to the force acting in the upward direction. Now on this surface, surface 1, let the pressure acting is P1, and at the surface which is at the bottom, that is number 2, the pressure acting is suppose P2, and we know that pressure is force per unit area. We know that the cross section area of the upper and the lower surfaces are same, but the forces are not same. So here we will write F1 upon A, and for this pressure P2 as F2 upon A. Forces acting on this faces 1 and 2 will be different, and so we can write F1 is equal to P1A and F2 is equal to P2A. So now here we have considered a cylindrical element of the fluid having cross section area A and its height is h. The height of this fluid element is h. Pressure P1 and P2 are at points 1 and 2, which are also shown in the figure. As I said, as the fluid is at rest, resultant horizontal forces, that is lateral forces on a curved surface, will be 0, and so I have written here summation of FH, H for horizontal forces, is equal to 0, and vertical forces, that is forces on top and the bottom, due to difference in the pressure at points 1 and 2 should balance the weight. Means this pressure difference, pressure P1 and pressure P2, we know that pressure P2 at the lower face will be more than the pressure at the upper face. So if we take the pressure difference, then the force due to this pressure difference should balance the weight of this fluid element. So definitely the force due to this pressure difference will be in the upward direction and weight is in downward direction. So that force and weight should be of equal magnitude and they will cancel each other. And so I have written pressure difference into area, means it is force, because force is pressure into area. So here we have to take difference in the pressure. I have shown here delta P is nothing but is force per unit area. And so force is equal to delta P, that is difference in the pressure into this area, should be equal to weight, that is mg. Let us give this equation number 1. Now students, if rho is the density of the fluid, and you know that density is mass upon volume, if we make the subject mass, we will get density into V, that is volume. But what is volume of this fluid element? If A is the cross section area and H is the height of this cylindrical fluid element, then volume V is equal to cross sectional area into height. And that's why I have written here A into H, which is nothing but is volume of this fluid element. Let us give this equation number 2. Now using this equation number 2 in equation number 1, that is here in place of m, we are going to write rho AH. We will get this. Now on both the side, cross section area cancel out and we will get difference in pressure, that is P2 minus P1 is equal to rho GH. So it is clear that as we go at some depths, what will happen? The pressure will increase and that pressure can be given by rho GH. Now students, if the pressure on the surface of the fluid is PA, if we consider the pressure on the surface of this fluid which is filled in a container as PA, why PA? It is atmospheric pressure, because we know that on this surface of fluid there is air of the atmosphere. So even air is a fluid and that fluid will also exert the pressure on the surface, and that is nothing but is atmospheric pressure, pressure due to atmosphere on the surface. And so I have written here, if the pressure on the surface of the fluid is PA and the pressure at depth H is P, then replacing P1 by PA, that is on the surface if the pressure is PA and pressure at some depth is P simply, that is P2 is replaced by P and this P1 is replaced by atmospheric pressure, then we will get P minus PA is equal to rho GH. This equation, that is P minus PA, is nothing but is a gauge pressure. Now in this equation, if we make subject P, then this minus PA will come this side and become positive. So we'll get P is equal to PA plus rho GH. So here this P is known as absolute pressure. Remember, difference gives gauge pressure and simply P gives absolute pressure. Now students, these equations shows that pressure at any point in a fluid depends on the height of the fluid column and not on the cross section area or the shape of the container. You can see in these equations that this pressure depends on height only, because the density of the fluid remains constant in a container. G is constant. So if height changes, height means depth, then pressure will change. The liquid pressure is same at all the points at the same horizontal level. This fact is known as the hydrostatic paradox. Students, if we go at some depth, then with depth what will happen? Pressure will increase. But in a fluid, if we move horizontally at different points, then at all these points pressure will remain same. And this fact is known as hydrostatic paradox. And this hydrostatic paradox is illustrated in this figure. Suppose if the water is filled inside this tube, and here you can see the arrangement of the tube is like this. There are different shapes of containers made. So this type of arrangement is made, and if a water is filled, then what will happen? The water level will rise equally at equal heights. You will find that the heights of the level of water in this different shaped container will be same, whatever will be the shape of the container, but height will remain same. So I have written here the three vessels A, B and C contain different amounts of liquids, all up to the same heights. Here from this side we are going to fill the water, and suppose these are the containers ABC, then you will find that the level of the water inside this container will be same. You can see volume inside this container is not same. That is, amount of the liquid inside these containers will be different, but their heights will be same. If we still go on filling the liquid from this opening, then the rise in the liquid will once again same. So this is about hydrostatic paradox. Now example number 10.2. Here given that a swimmer is 10 meter below the surface of a lake, and we want to find the absolute pressure on this swimmer. So depth h is equal to 10 meter from the surface. Density of water, always we have to take 1000 kg per meter cube, and g 10 meter per second square. Atmospheric pressure is 1.01 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. So students, these are the constants. So remember these values. Now all these values are given. Atmospheric pressure is this plus rho gh, value of rho, that is density, g 10, even h is 10. So you can see here, this will give you 10 raised to 5, and so this plus 10 raised to 5, what will happen? 10 raised to 5 here, and this 10 raised to 5 will be common, and so if we take out common 10 raised to 5, then here what will remain in first term? 1.01, plus in second term 10 raised to 5 was taken out, so remained is 1. So 1.01 plus 1 is 2.01 into 10 raised to 5. So we will get absolute pressure on the swimmer at 10 meter depth is 2.01 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. And we know that atmospheric pressure is this much. So this value which we obtained is nearly 2 times the atmospheric pressure. If you multiply this by 2, you will get this value only. So it is approximately 2 atmospheric pressure acting on a swimmer. Students, this is the formula for the absolute pressure that we have studied. Now if I ask you what is the gauge pressure, then simply what we have to do? P minus PA is equal to rho gh. So in that case, simply you have to put the value of rho g and h and calculate it. So we will get the gauge pressure. So I hope you understood about today's topics. If any doubt is there, then don't hesitate to ask me.